Okay. Are we on? Okay. Hello. Good afternoon and welcome to Backyard Applause. Thanks for joining us. I know it's really warm in here, but we will chat away anyway. My name is Ali Dumworth and I am a judge of Applause and a journalist. I organise events and I've done lots of work in social media, and I'm going to host the panel today, and I am joined by Owen from Bank of Ireland, Ciara Daly, Conquer Digital, and Ashling from Oh Happy Days and Naked Treats. But I'm going to let you all introduce yourselves first, because we're going to talk today about social media and embracing social media for business. And I know there's probably lots of small, not small, just food and drink business owners here that maybe are looking for a bit of advice, and everyone here knows a lot more about social media than I do. So if you want to start with yourself, Owen.
Yeah, so I'm Owen McGurl, and I do all things social for Bank of Ireland, across our wide range of products, from consumer to business facing and corporate. So it's quite a varied role, but exciting.
And Ciara?
So I am the owner of Conquer Digital, which is a social media agency that specialises in food and drink marketing. So I like to say that we are an agency which is on a mission to transform the food industry, because we work with clients who, I suppose, share our commitment to building a business that values people and planet as much as profit. We're very lucky to work with very, very, very brilliant clients, some of who are here today, who create local employment, who are alongside producing these brilliant products, are really dedicated to looking after the people who work for them or looking after the community around them. So we as an agency, we help them share their stories so that they can obviously increase their sales, but also that we can educate consumers about all of the brilliant things that are happening behind the scenes of their business, so we can kind of get support for the people who deserve it, as opposed to the big conglomerates on our supermarket shelves as well. So that's Conquer Digital.
Brilliant. And Ashling?
Hi everyone, my name is Ashling and I'm 27, and I started a home bakery about 5 years ago in my parents' kitchen, and it's called Oh Happy Treats, and we supply into cafes and direct to consumer. And then during lockdown I noticed a gap in the market for a home baking product, so we were already making these delicious cookies and supplying them into cafes. So I suppose I was a bit opportunistic and wanted to come up with a way to package that cookie dough and turn it into a retail product. So I did that and brought it to market really quick and designed the packaging myself and kind of bootstrapped everything. And then we created Naked Bakes, which is a cookie dough product. And so I kind of have two sister brands, Oh Happy Treats and Naked Bakes. And Naked Bakes is more in retail. The other is food service and direct to consumer. And then that's it.
And so they're all the businesses, I suppose, that you work for, but we're talking here about the social media. So, Ashling, we'll start with you first. So, I know you have your own personal socials and then you have your business socials.
Yeah.
And you have quite a few followers on your personal. And were you doing that before you started the business? And tell us about what social platforms you use the most and sort of when you started them, how they've grown.
Yeah, so I started posting on Instagram when I was around 18. I went vegan, and it was about 9 years ago, so before it was cool and trendy. So I felt kind of a need to connect with people online who are also on that vegan journey, because there wasn't too many of my friends and family who really understood that. And I also felt a need to prove to people that vegan food can be delicious and, you're not missing out. So I built an audience online, and I had a blog.
That was on Instagram?
Well. On Instagram, yeah. I had a blog and I used to post recipes on there. And then before influencers were really a thing, so I wanted to monetize the following that I'd built, and there wasn't really people doing brands and stuff like that, so I created my own business and started baking in my parents' kitchen and selling to people through social media. So
your business came from social, as
from
opposed
having
to
a background,
the other way. Most of us are
Exactly.
probably talking about having our business and then how to promote it on there.
Yeah, exactly. But social's changed so much over the past 7-8 years since I've been posting on it. So there's always new algorithms and new platforms coming out and stuff. So it is challenging.
Yeah, we're going to go through them. And Ciara, what are the main, so you're looking after lots of different food and drink clients. So what are the main social platforms? Does everyone have to be on everything? What's your take on it?
No, absolutely not. I am the most anti-social media marketer you'll ever come across.
Okay.
So I know like I have worked in the food industry for about 14, maybe 15 years at this stage, and I started off working actually in kitchens, and I was working in bakeries, and I worked in like in the at the face of it. And then in 2015 I kind of moved over into business development and marketing side of things. So I understand, the time constraints and everything else that a food business owner has on their plate. And I understand what their goals are, which are to make sales. So there's particularly during the pandemic, we saw like this huge explosion of TikTok and people dancing on Instagram and all of this crack, and people got so confused. They started trying to mimic what they were seeing happening online, and in the meantime, everything within their business was getting ignored because they had gone from a food producer into an Instagram star.
Yeah.
So for me, I always say,
Can you give us an example of that? Like,
an example of which?
of someone who like are brands that maybe went from promoting food and then went on to like dancing and stuff like.
Oh, sure. Even Conquer Digital, when the pandemic hit, I had only set up my business, and 3 weeks later, I lost all my clients because of the pandemic. So we were, with social media, you have to be agile. You have to be open to trying new things. So we tried it for a while, and then I was like, this is not working. And then in the same instance, we were looking at, should we do these things for our clients? Like, for instance, I work with a rapeseed oil company. We don't need to see them dancing on TikTok. That's not going to increase their profit margin. It's not going to generate sales for
But
them.
sometimes it works though.
Sometimes it does, but this business owner, I need to look at what the business owner, what their capacity is. And so what's the thing that is how can you work smarter, not harder? What is the thing that's going to kind of move the needle for you fastest and most efficiently? And so I know that Facebook and Instagram, it's probably everyone who uses it here probably has a love-hate relationship with them, because 100% over the last few years, the reach has gone absolutely abysmal and all of those things. But 100%, there's still your audience, like an artisan food or drink producer, your audience is on Facebook and Instagram. And you can create content a lot more efficiently and a lot more quickly for those platforms, which is going to reach a far wider age range of consumer versus if you're going to be dancing on TikTok. There's brands that absolutely is a perfect strategy for, but that is a very specific consumer that you are reaching. It's probably someone under the age of 35 who, if they are like me, has no money. And if it's a very specific type of content that you have to create, and very entertainment.
And the person who does it, I think, it kind of has to come naturally to you.
Yeah,
like it's something worse than when we're watching it, and so you're not.
One of the things that I see clients struggle with so much. Everyone, I know for a fact, everyone in this story or in this room will have an amazing story about their business, but because it's their business and it's their everyday, they don't realize that when they when they say it out loud, someone on the other side is going to be like, "Oh my God, that's amazing," and that's how you create that connection. That's why people love artisan food. It's the connection, it's the story, it's what's happening behind the label of the business. So if they can't even think to get that standard story out, it's a whole other skill set level that they need to get that story out in a way that it translates on TikTok while they're dancing, pointing up in the.
And I think that when we're talking about the story, like the one thing I really want to talk about, because I want to try and get as many, I suppose, facts and helps and tips from these guys as we have only half an hour or 20 minutes here, is like about your voice and your brand and authenticity. But like, Owen, when you're like, I know you're not looking after food brand, but you're looking after something that like on paper is boring. Like, sorry, we love the sponsor. We love the sponsors.
I think Bank of Ireland's great. Give me some money.
Like it's not something that naturally you're like, okay, I could think of loads of things I'm going to make content about. Like, how do you? And you obviously have to be so careful about the brand as well. How do you even approach that?
Yeah. Well, just on Ashling's point, Ashling.
Kira.
Sorry, I knew I was going to get it wrong. Sorry. Good start. I think people dancing and stuff, I get that, and I actually saw a clip of the guards from the COVID. They were doing that.
Oh, whatever it did, that Jerusalem.
And it is true. It is like that. If it doesn't work for your brand, like, what should you be doing that? And I think that's important. But like, social media has democratized content, and people's you don't have to be a big bank now to get in front of people. And social media has enabled small businesses to get in front of people and to actually have a share of voice, which sometimes is greater than a bank, which has a lot of financing behind it. But I think, like, for me at the Bank of Ireland, I'm just trying to humanise the brand.
Okay.
We're not just bankers, with cold hearts. That we actually are people, and that we're in your community, that we're a relationship bank, and
So much like the advertising that Bank of Ireland have always done, which is, showing the small businesses, and you kind of promote that an awful lot, even sponsors and stuff like that. So is it kind of looking at, like, it's kind of the same thing, isn't it?
we're
Your
trying
social
to
media is your advertising.
and we're trying to enable small businesses and businesses and people of all size, people and businesses of all sizes, and consumers as well, to enable them to make better financial decisions, to grow their business, and we're like, we see ourselves as being an integral part of that.
Yeah.
And we're then, as a result, trying to tell that story on social media, that don't be afraid to reach out to us.
And we have to talk about the financial side of it as well,
Yeah.
because like it's essentially free, but it's not, because it's your time and it's your effort and the content, and even above all that, then you have to decide if you're going to do organic or paid for. It's like, what's been your experience with that, Ashling? Have you done a lot of paid ads, or has yours been all organic?
No, it's pretty much been all organic. And where I would spend my marketing budget would be on the actual content creation, because I think if your content is really good quality, then your organic content is going to perform better, and you're going to get more reach.
So would you outsource some of the stuff? So that's what I wanted to ask you as well, about advice on whether, like, I think with social media, if you're not digitally native, if you're not like agile on it, it can be really intimidating. And you think that, like, that's a good place to start if you make a plan, you know what you want, but figure out what you want to outsource. Like, if you're bad at taking pictures.
Yeah, for me, like, I love content creation, because that's how I started building my following, was like posting recipes and stuff like that. But I just don't have the time when I'm, trying to run my business and do sales and all the other hats that you wear as an owner. But so I started working with a videographer, and she's brilliant. And message me after if you want to get an intro. But she creates short form content for me, and I'll post that on our channels, and you can use it across Instagram Reels, TikTok. You can use it on your Instagram stories. So I think I definitely get the most return out of getting her to create my videos, because that's the most time consuming thing, and they're really good quality. And then
if you work with her all the time, she gets to know your style, your voice.
Yeah. So she comes for 1 day a month and shoots at our bakery.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and gets like behind the scenes content and stuff. And then I've actually, since I started working with her, I've been tracking our e-commerce sales, and they've gone up like 100% every single month.
That's amazing.
They're growing, so I can see that there's actually a return on spending that money on hiring her.
And I think there's plenty of people out there doing that at the moment. I've met a lot of people who are content creators, influencers, whatever you want to call them, but on the side, what they're doing is helping businesses and making that content. So I do think if there's someone that you follow that you really like and you want help with that, like, it's a good idea to reach out and say, do you make content?
Yeah.
And I think it's much more affordable to do that nowadays than it would have been if you had made videos. They could have been prohibitively expensive, like even 5 years ago, 2 years ago. Now you can shoot great stuff on your phone,
Yeah, for sure. Like,
I just want to ask here about the time thing. So you're saying you film all yours in 1 month, because the thing that can scare you is sitting down and going, I don't have days or hours to spend on this. Like, what advice do you give to clients to build it into their time?
It's very difficult. Like, there's two kind of notions that come with social media, I think, in the food and drink industry. It's that, yes, you need to be on it, but that it's free. And
it's not free.
Yeah, and then the second is that, like, I'll just do it as I'm going.
Yeah.
But you don't, because when you're doing something, you're concentrating on what you're doing. It's a totally different mindset to start now getting all of the content to market your business. So it's actually just switching that mindset and knowing I have to actually invest in my business. Social media is not free, but it's very affordable if you know how to use it cleverly. And if you can start actually like time blocking of, okay, say Monday morning, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to do 3 hours of, I'm going to go around my bakery and I'm going to take a load of videos and I don't even know what they're going to be for.
Yeah.
I'm just going to get a bank of content. And then I'm going to sit down for the second hour and I'm going to look at what I have and I'm going to look at my marketing calendar, which I know loads of people are not going to have, but you're going to make one. And then you're going to kind of see how you can use what you have to actually fill in the gaps of what's coming down the line versus always trying to do things on the fly. And if you can set up a system of how how you manage your marketing, like you do with anything
Yeah,
else in your
exactly.
business.
Your bookkeeping.
Yes,
or, yeah.
100%. It becomes a process, and it's now not such an overwhelming task. And your skills will develop, and you'll be able to expand what you're actually doing in your marketing.
So would you often set that up, do that as a job with someone, set that up, and then you could kind of let them fly, they can manage it on themselves, dip back into you if they need help?
100%. So if we work with, in a couple of capacities, we would work with retainer clients. So what we will do with them is we will go in and we will create a bank of content, and we'll send them a monthly calendar.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's someone here in the room, sometimes you want to hear from them, they're like, Grant, because they're like, they've got it under control. They understand what the process is, and it all flies and it all works perfectly. Then in other instances, we'll work with clients who don't have a system, and it doesn't make sense, because it doesn't make sense for everybody to outsource their marketing to an agency. So we'll work with them to kind of set up that system and just teach them and hold them accountable. Every Monday, Deborah, you told me you were going to take 16 pictures. Did you take them? No, like, there's no Deborah.
Poor Deborah.
But, poor Deb, she's useless. But, you have to kind of get them into a rhythm, because no one goes into open a food business to become a social media content creator.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those skills. The same way you have to do your taxes. You have to learn it. You can't ignore it. So it's how do you set up that system at a pace that works for you, and don't be looking at what I tell you on stage. Do what you can do until you can do the next thing.
And that's the nice part of social media, if you enjoy it, is the content creation and, getting your story out there, nice pictures and loveliness. But like, what about the bad side of it? And like, you might get this a lot. So like, obviously if people are upset or pissed off or given out about your business, how do you deal with that? On one hand, I want to ask about that, but I also want to ask about, like, should you reply to everybody? Like, is that important as well? Now, you probably get some complaints.
Yeah, well,
because I know it's hard to get hold of maybe a bank on the phone or something. Do people flood your inbox?
I don't think you should be on social media if you're not going to engage with people. You want engagement, but at the same time, I think the part of the trade-off is that you actually have to engage back as well.
Yeah.
So if you are feeling like negative comments or I think you just have to respond. Say, like, it could be something like a kind of holding, like a generic statement. Like, we take your feedback on board and we'll build your feedback into a future product. So I do think it's very important that's part of the trade-off. Like, so I wouldn't like.
So you'd never ignore.
No, we have a customer service team, and for me, like, we would not be able to do what we do on social media without them responding to customers. So when they're having a bad day, or if there's a particularly bad day in the bank, we will actually go off. We will go quiet and just let them manage the customers, because we don't want to be adding to the noise. So.
And do you ever get any disgruntled customers?
Yeah. I mean, my business is nowhere near the scale of Bank of Ireland, so it would be.
But I think it doesn't matter the size of the business. It's like
of course you can't you can't be perfect all the time. So I think you're always going to get one or two complaints, and you just deal with them on a case-by-case basis, and just try not to take things personally as well.
Yeah.
There'll be a great opportunity that comes from negative feedback. Malachy in the last session was talking about, if you give your product to a friend, of course they're going to tell you they like it.
Yeah.
Like, they're not going to go, this is crap. And if you get a negative comment, I worked with a really, a very sustainable business that was getting annihilated on social media. We just turned it into an opportunity to explain why we do it like this. This is why it costs. And you're not going to change that person's mind, but the people who are reading the comments are going to see what your answer is. And you've suddenly just turned that into an opportunity to educate your customer on what it is you do. And if it's a very, valid point, well, you can use it to improve your business. So you don't need to be afraid of it.
I do think I've been in the the inbox of a lot of events and festivals, and someone's always upset about something. And it is hard though not to focus on that one. You could have 98% of people having the great time. It's hard not to focus on the one thing. But I think everyone I've ever worked with, we've always done this kill them with kindness. So you always respond and offer them something. And they come back to you as a customer then usually. Or they go around and say, instead of giving out about you, they kind of might say nice things about you. But I suppose then the other few things I want to talk about is, I don't know how much time we have left, because I want to put questions in as well. We're okay. About the platforms that you should be on. So how do you decide what platforms you should be on? So when someone comes to you, how do you know when your customer is on TikTok or your customer is on Instagram, or is there new places we're meant to be looking? Is there new platforms that we're meant to be looking for?
So for us, when a client comes to us, instead of saying you need to be on this platform, the first thing we look at is who is your customer? Who is the person that's coming to you in the market and actually giving you the money? Okay, where is that customer? Are they on TikTok? I'm not against it. I don't like it, but if my client needs
Is that
it,
who
put them
uses
on it.
TikTok here? No.
Not too nervous.
Like
people here
out
in the
about
front.
3 people allowed, maybe?
I love TikTok.
Well,
And
but can I ask what age you are?
32.
Okay.
And well, I think it's
Is it?
from
Okay.
it's like people use it for search now as well, which is not maybe something that you would think of, but actually like younger people are now using, instead of Google, they will like search like how to make a cupcake.
Yeah.
And they'll search that on TikTok as opposed to
Okay.
but I think for people, if somebody was starting out, I would say go where you're most comfortable.
Yeah.
So if you're comfortable using Instagram or you're comfortable using Facebook, just start there.
Yeah.
And most people are not on one channel. So most people don't just use people aren't only on LinkedIn but they're not on Facebook or Instagram, or they're not. Most people are they've multiple presences.
Yeah.
So if you don't hit them, if you're not using Facebook but you're using Instagram, you'll probably hit them on Instagram or vice versa.
I feel like Instagram is very important at the moment for Irish food and drink.
It's like, I think 100%. It's so visually.
Would you agree with
appealing.
that?
Yeah, I think it's just hard because it's always changing and you don't know what's going to work. But I think something actually that I haven't really implemented this that much strategically yet, but something I want to do going forward is I know about people's attention spans, and you literally have like 1.5 seconds to capture people. So if you can get something like, I don't know, really like gooey shot of something, or like something that's really going to make someone stop scrolling.
Yeah.
And then that, if the algorithm catches that people are stopping, they'll push it out to more and more people, and you have more of a chance of like getting more reach.
But do you think that when you start to talk about the algorithm and what Instagram wants, how do you balance that with what your brand is and what you want to put out there? Because if you're not that social media savvy and you're just doing what you can to get your story out there, where should you be more focused on how you think you should act and come across, or how you think Instagram wants you to? Because do you fall down that rabbit hole like you were saying about ending up doing dances?
For us, I will always, every client we work with will start on Facebook and Instagram, because we work with the food and drink industry. I know who their customer is. Even before they tell me, I probably know it better because I've been doing it for so long. But I follow you on social media. You've got the knack for it and you understand how to connect with your customer. But in terms of, if I was to produce the content that you do for your business, I'm charging my clients probably triple what I charge them now. And that doesn't make financial sense for them either to do that. So what we've done over the years is kind of developed a system where they have whatever their hours there are, we produce a certain amount of content, and rather than trying to play to the algorithms, we just use a very specific market or advertising strategy, and we make sure that the content we create gets seen.
Yeah.
And we would have, I always say it's a 55, 35, 15 rule. So you'd use 55 that's why I am a big advocate for Facebook and Instagram, even though I'm not a fan of them morally, but it's so conflicting. But for them, they have really powerful targeting tools. So you can set up, you've got 3.
Is this for paid ads?
Yeah, so there's actually 3 platforms I would say you need to start off: Facebook and Instagram, and then the Facebook advertising or business manager,
which is actually very easy to use.
It's easy.
Does anyone use that? Yeah, it is, because you could put your Facebook and your Instagram into it, and if you play around with it a little bit, you can put in exactly your customer profile and all of that. With paid for advertising, do you I think people struggle with whether they should do it themselves or whether they should get someone to do it. And sometimes you get someone to do it and they charge you a fortune and you don't understand what they're saying.
Yeah.
I know, because I've done that for people.
Yeah, it's difficult. There's no one answer. It depends on what your skill set is, how confident you are, how patient you are. You're not going to turn on advertising and tomorrow you're going to be a millionaire. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
And it has slowed
But it
down.
will tell you that that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, of course. It will.
the Facebook and Instagram are very good at marketing themselves back to you, and you're like, I'm going to spend all this money, and then your organic engagement drops.
Yeah, you need to go into it. It's a connection. It's a connection building tool. And then as you build your connections, you get sales. But you can't go into it thinking straight away, now tomorrow I'm going to start selling all my products and I'm going to retire the next week. Like, you have to play the waiting game. So I would say you go in, you need to, there's a thing called lookalike and custom audiences that are going to track who comes onto your website, who looks like those people, or who are very similar in behaviors to those people. So what we would do always is we would set up all of those audiences and we would put 55% of our budget behind a cold ad. So you would go to like, I'm trying to describe this without taking 10 hours.
A general awareness.
Yeah. We would have an ad where you're introducing the brand to people who have never heard of it before, and then you're going to have 35% of your ad retargeting those people with snippets of information about your business, so that you're building the connection with them constantly. And with that ad, you're going to direct them to your store or to your online store or whatever it is. You've got a call to action. And then you would put your last 15% into like your general day-to-day posting. Because you've put time, probably an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours into creating a social media post. You don't want 140 people to see it. You want 140,000 people to see it. So put a little bit of ad spend behind it. And now you've saved yourself, I swear, like probably about 20 hours in the month.
Yeah.
So just by being a little bit more clever, it's great. Like, and if you can be the kind of content creator that you are, that's an addition. But if you can't, don't feel bad about it.
Yeah, but let's talk about that for a second, and then we're going to do some questions. But like, Ashling, your social is brilliant, and you always seem to, like, you do jump on the trends. You kind of, you know what's happening. And like, how do you keep up with that? Is that because you're on the socials and you're following what's happening and you're going, I see that work, so I'm going to repeat that?
Yeah, and I think it's just trial and error. And like, you probably haven't seen the videos that didn't work because they didn't go anywhere. You know, they didn't get any. So, you know.
What's at the moment? What should we be doing if we're making videos?
Tube Girl. Has anyone seen that
Oh,
trend?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Does anyone know that?
But if anyone wants to try that with me, you know, we'll give it a go.
I find that at TikTok it's much easier to find that.
Yeah.
Like, if you go on TikTok and scroll, it kind of gives you that stuff easier than Instagram does.
Yeah, definitely. Sorry.
Well, I suppose the algorithms are different. Like, so you can have on TikTok, you could have a viral video and have no follower base at all.
Yeah.
And then the next day you create something similar and it will have zero engagement. Whereas Instagram is more about building up a community and you know, that's slower burn, but then it's more kind of consistent over time.
Is there anything coming next that we should be? I know we don't have Threads in Ireland yet, or if we're going to get it. Does anyone know Threads? It's like I think
like a Twitter,
like
for
Twitter
Instagram.
for Instagram. So we've got TikTok. Is there like, should we be investigating anything else?
I don't think I'm the right person. You're probably more of a Gen Z than me.
Well, I don't think so. I think Instagram and TikTok is just going to go from strength to strength, but Instagram is.
Yeah, I did want to talk a little bit. Then with your questions, about AI. So, like, I know that's kind of the big thing at the moment. So no one's talking about new platforms, but everyone's talking about using AI. Yeah. And like, my sister is a yoga teacher, and she does all of her own social and everything, and she's very good at it. She enjoys it. But when I started using ChatGPT, I was like, loads of people are using it for marketing plans and for maybe writing content that she spends ages doing, and now she uses it and it's like changed her marketing. And I know another person who started using it for a wine website, and it changed everything for them. Like, have you used it? Do you recommend it for social planning, for marketing? Like, how could you utilize it?
I've used it for like idea generation. So to kind of, because sometimes you're putting pressure on yourself to come up with an idea, and sometimes I've found it helpful to kind of feed in my thoughts, see what comes back. But my warning would be, don't copy and paste from ChatGPT into Instagram, because it won't sound like you. You need to still, humanize it. You need to use your tone of voice, how you speak to.
But certainly, if you're stuck, exactly
it's a great tool, and
like,
it really is. It does,
like having someone beside you to like bounce an idea off, and I think it kind of gets to know what you're talking about, and it's free.
Yeah.
Do you use it? Well, it's free for now. But there is loads of plugins that you can use.
It's amazing. I always say to anyone that we're kind of working with on a training basis, like to get to grips with it, like such a huge part of food and drink is creating that, the 5 sense experience online, so that people are like craving what it is that you've put on the screen. And that can be hard to do. Not everyone is a writer like you, Ellie. So people can go into ChatGPT. So one of the things we will get them to do is a key message document. So that's where I sit them down and I interrogate them. I waterboard them. I say, tell me everything about your business. And they say, I don't know what to say. And then 5 minutes later, when you unplug it, you can't stop them because they have all these stories about what they did and what inspired them to start their business. And this is what this product is. And it comes from the hills of the Himalayas. And his grandmother carried it on his back for 19 years. And all of this thing. And like, they're stories that are absolutely going to make customers fall in love with your business. So I tell them, give me all of this information. We put it into a key message document. And then what they can do is go to ChatGPT when they want to create social media content. Just take one tiny message about your business and put it into ChatGPT and ask it to create a caption for you. And voila, like, it's done in a few minutes. And then you
just edit it.
Yeah. Or you can ask it to, describe the flavors of my vanilla and salt ice cream, and it will give you a really delicious description.
And I think it's just like Googling or using a thesaurus, but it's kind of much more in tune. Do you use it at all?
Yeah, just a little bit. I would use it for idea generation as well, and copywriting, for captions and stuff.
Yeah.
But you have to restructure things that they say and play around with the words that they come up with. And I use it for emails as well. I'll just copy and paste an email in, be like, write back, the tone is blah, 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 friendly, professional, whatever. And then it will give me an email and I'll, copy paste that.
Has anyone used it for business yet? No. I think, everyone, sorry, you okay, Vivian? Vivian's standing up for questions. But I would highly recommend it. I think that you can do, play around with it, and you can do so much with it. And if, your main business isn't as a marketer, but you're marketing your own food or drink business, there's no reason why you shouldn't use it. As you said, not everyone's a marketer or a writer. Yeah. And
it's great for, outside of marketing, for project planning. If you're trying to do some sort of financial application, ask it, what do I need to put in it? It won't write it for you, but it'll tell you all the logical points, and then Owen will make sure you get the money in Bank of Ireland.
And even I know people who've used it, say, if you aren't very good at corporate speak and maybe you're doing a business plan and you want to sound a little bit more official, if you're going into the bank to maybe present something to them and you don't have that skill set of language, you can say, write this in a business plan style for an Irish bank, and it will do that for you. Of course, you edit it again, but it's very handy. Did anyone have any questions? Vivian's out there with the microphone. When you have these three minds here, you can ask them anything about social.
Absolutely.
No. I have more questions to ask if anyone doesn't.
Okay, we keep Ali going. Oh, I have one here.
Yeah.
Just about TikTok. What we did is we had some summer students, and they did all sorts of weird stuff on TikTok, which is great fun and got really good views and stuff like that. I don't know how much it affected any of the sales. That's the only thing. And now they've all gone back to college.
And what was your business?
Kinsale Mead. We make alcohol from honey.
Yeah, brilliant. I think that's a good thing to bring up. Is should you always be looking at the return on investment with your social, or should you be thinking about it more as a marketing and a brand tool, and it's not necessarily linear how much you're making back from it? You're not doing it to, I suppose, necessarily make money. It's more of a to be on there and to engage your customers.
To Ciara's point, a lot of the on the kind of the general awareness piece, and then there's the more direct demand gen piece. But I'm mainly focused on kind of brand awareness, building consideration for Bank of Ireland, and kind of educating people on how we can support you and your business. So we're probably less focused on, okay, how many current accounts did we open? But I suppose, when you're a small business, you need to, that is important to you. But for me, I see Rob at the front here, and what I like about Rob's social is that, you see people using his product, which is coffee. So you see, he has people in their home, using his coffee, and to me, that's what works, is actually people interacting with your brand and making it real,
Maybe Rob, would you like to dance about your social media? It's very good.
Business owner. It's no longer done by me.
What's your business?
Velo Coffee.
Okay.
So Madison looks after it with Suzanne beside me. One of the things we did recently, 6-8 months ago, was we use a company called UGC for videos now, and they're fantastic. They just give us a bank of videos every month, and that home stuff is different people then, so you get that experience of people going shopping for the product and using the product. Briefs for that sort of stuff, you need to get very detailed, because we we got comfortable with them and were less detailed, and the way the product was being treated wasn't how we'd like it treated.
Yeah.
And you've that argument, then the person making the video is actually a consumer as well.
Yeah.
So is that how the consumer uses it? So it's getting that balance right. But certainly it's all video now. Imagery is gone, and it is time consuming.
Yeah. Is it all video?
I don't think so.
I think it's probably 70% video, and I think video, it's a good opportunity. It is more time consuming, but you can show your product on such a much deeper level
Yeah.
than a static post or a carousel. So I think there's opportunity in it, but it is so time consuming.
Yeah.
Just to come back to that lady's question, with social media, like obviously you really should be looking at the ROI that's coming back from it, but you can't always directly link the two either. Like there's a lot of social media is going to influence somebody's decision when they're in the supermarket, and you don't know that directly impacted, but there is I think it's 71% of people are going to be influenced by social media for their purchase, and then there's 63% of people looking up social media to make a decision about what restaurant to go to, and you can't necessarily translate that directly, but it is that kind of thing of like, how much are you going to put into it? If you have an e-commerce store and it's definitely, if you've made a big huge new investment into it and it's not seeing any difference in traction, that's when it's time to look at how you're using it and how you're investing in it.
And what about user-generated content? So do you send your stuff to... So what I'm talking about, if you're sending your product to people and you're hoping that they're going to use it, and whether you're paying them, then it's an ad, or you just get sent stuff and people will share it if they like it. Like, do you do that?
Yeah, we would do influencer marketing, which is kind of similar. We'll work with micro-influencers, which is like smaller influencers, and they tend
what's that kind of number?
I don't even know, like 10K and below. But they would tend to, I feel, put more effort into the content, and the content is more content that you can use on your channels, as opposed to bigger influencers who will just put up one story and then like the value you're getting is it being on their story, but they're not making like something nice for you, a nice piece of content for you to use. But I think user-generated content is really interesting, and I think for my strategy I definitely actually need to look at that, and in terms of like, because obviously I'm paying my videographer to make content, but I could also send a UGC content creator product and pay them whatever their fee is, and that would probably be similar price, I think, maybe. And then
so
you also be on
I suppose
their
just
page.
explain those differences. So there's the user-generated paid content is when you send someone something and you're asking them to make an ad for you, and then there's the other one where you're just maybe sending out press samples or gifts, and then you're hoping that people will
post about it, but there's no obligation for them, because you're not paying them to. But that also has a benefit because it comes across as way more authentic if someone's organically sharing an experience they've had with your product.
And how do you go about that? How do you find those people, or advice for someone if they were like, right, I want to get my product into more people's hands? Do they approach them themselves? Should they DM them? Like, how do you go about that?
I think you should. We had Cassie Stokes here today. Who's like a food influencer.
She's brilliant.
But I think if you're a small business, we went through our agent directly. But I think if you're a small business, reach out to them first and let them direct you to their agent if they want to. But if that would be my take. Because if they're willing to engage with you, work with you directly, because you're a small business, then they might be more inclined to give you a favourable rate. But if you start with the agent, they're always going to give you the
and most people, I think, have, if they want to be contacted, they have their contact details in their, most people have their email in their bio, or there's a little email click button that I think a lot of people miss. So I get DMs from people and asking for the email, and the email is there.
We had Cassie here as well, just to say as well, it's important that you're picking the appropriate person for your audience. Because we had Cassie here today because she's a food influencer, and her style is really kind of on trend. And it's that kind of almost like a Henry McKean style, where she's like kind of interviewing on the street.
Has everyone seen those videos? She's like,
they're great.
They're
really
brilliant.
good.
I think that they generate a lot of conversation. So it's a great. If you were, say, a business owner and you wanted to, would it be a good idea as well to put yourself to go to Cassie and say, can I do one of them? Because I know a lot of the food business owners have put themselves forward, or she has approached them. I think that's a good strategy as well, to try and put yourself forward for content.
Yeah, I think it is, because that kind of content is quite different. Like, obviously there's a few people doing it, but like everyone knows what like brownies, or I don't know, other food things look like, but like that's so different. And so like that's one of those things that would just make you stop and be like, oh, what are they saying in that interview? Do you know? So
Yeah.
I think that's really good content idea. Yeah.
I think it's important as well just to bear in mind, like, there's 10,000 things you can do to improve your social media, but what is it that's actually feasible for you to do on a continuous basis? Like, don't do it for 2 weeks and be like, that didn't work. Like, what can you do for a couple of months? And then test it. And if it works, keep going and maybe build on it. Or not, change tact because it's not working. But like, that's something I really notice a lot of food business owners don't do, that planning element. And that's what you need to do. You need to sit down. Myself and one of the PRs here were talking about we need to get the Christmas clients ready, but no one is thinking about Christmas in food because they're like, you're mad. But now is the time to start planning and getting your photography done, getting your campaign outlined and saying, this is my list of to-do jobs over the next few months. So getting into that planning mindset with your marketing is really what's important when it comes to social media.
I think we're at time. Yeah.
Actually, something when the lady did ask that question
Yeah.
from Mead, it's the consistency as well. So, you know, if she has an example that she brought in a team and they're gone now, so how do you maintain that consistency of voice? That's really important.
And
So-
does it matter? Like, should you be stressed if you haven't posted in a few weeks?
I don't think so. Like, there's no
You're
point.
busy.
Yeah.
Social
Busy.
media can be like a personal
Yeah.
development course. Like, don't be stressing. If you can't do it, you
Yeah.
can't
Yeah.
do it.
But
Like,
and it's
set
the
up a system that
consistency.
makes it easier
Yeah.
for you to succeed in doing it.
Yeah. It's more about the tone rather than all the time.
Yeah, so I think not to panic post.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just to finish up, I kind of would love to ask everyone, I want you to tell us where to find you on social, but also who do you follow for like inspiration? Do you have an account for your like, I actually love a food and drink account, or even it doesn't have to be that. I love what they're doing. Like you said, Cassie is a great one to watch, and she seems to have zeitgeist of like, she interviews people who are very current and of the moment. Do you have any other people like that we should follow at the moment to say this is kind of what's going on in food and drink?
The gastro guys are number one for me anyway. They're brilliant. Like, they're so tuned into what's happening in the industry, but they're also very good if you want to look at how you can move into creating videos. That's a great...
And they create great video content.
You could pay them to do it, but like if you're doing it yourself, just look at what people are doing. What are the frames they're using? How are they setting up the style of the food? What are they saying in the post? And they're like a brilliant influence that people can look to if they want inspiration to DIY it themselves.
Yeah. What about you? Is there anything you particularly follow?
I'm going to give a shout out to my content creator, videographer, Lorna Diced and Dished, her username is. Diced and
great,
Dished.
yeah.
Yeah, she's
Diced
real.
and dished.
Yeah.
Okay.
Diced and Dished. So she posts her own recipes, but then she also does freelance work with people like me. So yeah.
I'd say another one I love is Foodstagram. Do
Yeah.
you follow her?
Yeah. I
You
think
know, Irish Foodstagram. And I loved following her, and then because her content was great, I asked her to create some videos for clients, and now she does loads of them, and she does them really quick. And like, it's really nice because she is young and she's a user and she's really into food and drink, so she's creating content for them now that like someone my age never could.
Yes.
Like, and you have to think about that as well if you're looking for help. Like, do go younger, get someone who kind of understands the platform and knows it inside out, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I think that's important to Rob's point, though. Do get someone that understands the channel, but make sure you're kind of maintaining your brand.
they should still be a customer, I think, if you can have it like both
It doesn't
ways.
want to. You don't want it off the wall. It's saying like you need to make sure that your brand message and your objectives are coming across
Yeah.
in the piece.
Mm-hmm.
It's about kind of working together, I think.
I hope that
Each platform, would they have a kind of demographic age that follows them? Because if your product is, you kind of know 40-year-old
question.
blokes more likely
Yeah.
are going to buy beer-ish, craft beer. There's no point going for a platform that's full of young people.
what would be the general breakdown, do you think?
Facebook and Instagram are the ones that would have the kind of evenly across all demographics. That's kind of
think
why.
so?
Oh, it is, the 100%, yeah.
And then TikTok age group,
That would be like 50% would be under 30.
yeah. And then, I mean, they're the three main ones, aren't they?
Yeah.
You've got
Yeah.
LinkedIn as well if you're doing more like professional stuff. I think we're going to wrap it up. So just tell us where to find you on social.
my Instagram is at Ashling Tuck, and I also have my brand is called Oh Happy Treats, and we are _naked is Naked Bakes.
Ciara?
So I'm on Instagram as I'm Ciara Daly, and then my business is conquerdigital.ie, so you can find us there.
And Owen?
I'm on Instagram at Owen McGirl, and my brand is Bank of Ireland.
Oh, mine is just Ali Dunworth across all socials. I hope that, I know it's a really overwhelming subject matter and it's really hard to even get it into the 40 minutes that we did. I hope that it didn't overwhelm and that you got I wanted just to get some tidbits out and some information, and that you found some of it helpful and that you'll be happily making lots of Bloss content now. Yeah. What's the hashtag? What should we tag?
Hashtag Bloss23.
Yeah.
Backyard Bloss.
And it's just at Bloss. Yeah, so...
Sharing. And your wins and your finalists, whichever you are.
Yeah, share your news more than once.
The collaborations you talked about earlier.
I keep on thinking of 100 things now we could add to that tag and locations, and don't
No,
forget all that
don't
stuff.
overwhelm them. Just post.
No,
But
exactly.
yeah, just
And
post.
Can I just
Just
say,
post.
for those who have, you have that beautiful glass. For those who have won an award today, there is this beautiful landscape outside.
Yeah.
The sun is shining. It's a great time to put that glass in front of that.
And you can keep
Do a
using
good photo.
content. I think when you're at
Yeah.
something like Bloss, you can get a lot of it now, after this chat. Get as
Yeah.
much as you can. Keep using it for weeks and weeks throughout
Yeah.
the whole year. Keep reminding people
Yeah.
that you've got one of the stickers.
Good year, Christmas. You know
Um,
what you're celebrating.
Thank you
Okay,
so
thanks
much.
so much, Ali.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Ali.
And then say the
Thank you, panel.